Hi, thanks for joining us today. My name is Bart Patterson. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the Silver Surfers and the COVID wave that we're dealing with here in 2020. Let's talk a little bit about a typical family scenario that we might be dealing with. A couple lived in a small community, small ranch home surrounded by many friends, longtime neighbors. Husband was a provider and the wife stayed at home, a mom of two children. As time went on, the husband retired and they enjoyed a life into the middle 60s when the husband passes away from cancer. The neighborhood's changing, the friends are moving, and they too have lost a loved one, and it might be a single spouse remaining behind. The wife remains in the home until her middle 70s, where the health concerns and activities of daily living have been compromised. The woman discusses with her closest family and soon decides that it's just becoming too much for her to take care of and to continue to age in place. The place where she lived for over 50 years, full of family memories, memorabilia, and the comforts that she's grown to love, overwhelmed her with the idea and thinking about moving. The family, too, overwhelmed with the task. Emotionally, everyone's struggling. The elder woman knows she can't continue to stay in place and that everything she held may not be of the same value to those around her. In fact, she thinks that once she's out, her stuff will literally be thrown into a big dumpster for the garbage dump. The family also understands that it's an emotion. The children grew up there. They've all moved on to their own homes and families. But there's roots and there's comfort. An emotional time for everyone in the family. Now, however, the house has to be emptied, and it's a daunting task, too big for everyone. Not sure what the next step is, they contacted a local realtor who offered guidance for a complete solution to the overwhelming tasks. Several consult meetings occurred with the realtor, the elder parent, the children regarding financial situation, and the options for sale and what to do about cleaning and clearing the home, moving, where to go, and all of the other things that might be considered at this time. How do we make everyone feel comfortable with the decision? Additional meetings, further discussions occurred with an endless group of professionals, all regarding the real estate salesperson, the senior moving advisors, all compassionate and empathetic with the situation at hand. The elder parent was comforted to know that things would be handled with dignity and care and that all of her stuff was not going to be thrown away. The move was first, and the senior moving advisor moved in, knew exactly what was going to happen, talked about the layout of the new facility, what to take, what not to, what's going to make it easy for them to do. They asked the right questions, and when they needed to, they limited the items that we're going to be taking to make it comfortable for her in her new home. That took the pressure off the family. Next came the estate sale, and that was after she moved out. The team came in, organized, cleaned, researched items, organized again, and displayed everything for sale. They left nothing untouched, searched everywhere, found much more that had been left behind or even forgotten about. Family documents, monies, jewels, things like that. Never a question of honesty or ethics performed to the highest standards. They felt comfortable with that choice of the estate planner. The realtor discussed financial discussions and raised some good ideas and questions about income and continuing to generate income while they remained in the assisted living facility. It was also decided that it might be smarter in this situation to actually rent the property and continue with an income stream to handle additional expenses rather than to cash out with some lump sum sale. That could run out prior, depending on health and housing costs over time. Facts and spreadsheets showed the long-term benefits of the leasing, even with a management company involved and their fees, and the family didn't have to be concerned with being the landlord. This approach, the solution-based consulting, removed the stress for the family and for the elder parent. She moved into her new facility with those memories and memorabilia she wanted most, and the family all supported of with their new venture. There was no trauma, no stress, a smooth transition, an easy transition for that senior to continue enjoying senior life. That's a typical scenario in the situations today. The COVID wave, though, has offered a few changes. Obviously, there's even more scarcity, more idea that they're worried. They're in that shut-in situation. Obviously, with family taking care of them and so forth, even in their situations today, there may be more requirements for them to get out and get into a protected space. They still can't live or age in place. Many prefer not to have that personal contact today with so many outside people. So we have to be careful on our limitations of what's going to happen there. Follow the COVID rules, follow those guidelines given to us by health departments and local municipalities. Many are connecting with family and friends electronically. They've learned to overcome that technology because they need to have that interaction. It's very, very important for them. They're doing other things of their daily lives online, such as grocery shopping, shopping on Amazon for those third-party things, and even QVC for everything else they need. The goal here, and I've changed the acronym of KISS, keep it simple for everyone, or keep it simple stupid, is now keep it simple or keep it senior simple in that scenario. We want to make sure that we make their life easy, make it easy for the transition. Obviously, if we're going to meet physically and we're going to take those extra precautions, we want to make sure that we're social distancing, we're following the rules regarding our masking, we're following the rules, making sure that we're doing all the hand care and things like that, maybe even wearing gloves, doing those kinds of things to make sure that we're not a possibility of the spread of the COVID issues. It's so important to understand, though, as we're going through this, even in the generation, whether it be the GI generation or some of the youngers, where their attitude is, where their personality types are, and what they're focusing on. The Senior Real Estate Specialist program helps us understand those generational programs in a thorough process. Let's just kind of recap a few of those to get a better understanding. The traditionalist, or the GI generation, a very loyal group, very energetic, very community oriented. They're team players and they respect the authority of others. The baby boomers, very ambitious, optimistic, hardworking. They like immediate gratification, though, for all the work that they put in. They also have that what's in it for me kind of attitude. The Gen X is a little more skeptical. Those are called sometimes the latchkey kids. A little more isolated, more entrepreneurial, independent for sure. They focus on life and family before their careers. And they're a little more reluctant to be committed in a relationship. Gen Y, a little more empathetic to elders, more tolerant, more sensitive to the multiculturalism that's out there, overscheduled themselves. It's tougher to get an appointment with these people because they just don't have time. They're constantly in that multitasking environment and they have a shorter attention span. And then we have Generation Z, or the millennials. Technology adapt, connected via the web. Everything is done via social media, but very introverted in person. So those individualized meetings will be very impersonal. They're very individualistic, and they are very impatient because everything is now, being that they're communicated or connected with everything on the web. They always want the answers now and communicate online most exclusively. In order to help us understand these scenarios, along with all of the other traits of personality and so forth that get thrown in there, we really need to take a little deeper dive into some of the newer dimensions. So let me share some examples. As a real estate professional, we should really study what each group needs and wants from a generational standpoint when we're talking to them. So let's kind of break it down. When we're working with matures, we need to remember that they're cautious, sometimes to the fault. They're not going to be rushed. They have to be empowered to make decisions, and they want to make good ones. So they may need time to make and think through things. They like to have testimonials. They like to know that they're working with people and they value those personal relationships that are made. They value the personal referrals that are given to them from friends and family. They love face-to-face meetings. So if it's not available today, let's do a video presentation. Obviously, we can change things up. Part of that is they want to see you. They want to know who they're dealing with. They want to look you in the eye, if that makes sense. And that's really important. So a video meeting today, much like we're doing with the Zoom presentation, would be a possibility. And we've got Facebook and so many other opportunities. They want to get that trust, and they're becoming more familiar with the technology simply because they're doing that in order to stay in touch with family. We need to be as inquisitive as possible. We're in the conversation with them and ask as many questions as we really can to find out what they're looking for. They like to hear all of their options. They like to make sure that they have all the details and the knowledge. That gives them empowerment, obviously, to make those decisions that we talked about. When you're scheduling appointments, make sure that you're always on time and that you leave enough time for discussion. They love to talk, and that's an important factor in that relationship, that trust build that we're talking about. Also, when they want to think about it, give them that opportunity. They're not prone to a pressure sales pitch or some time restraint that they have to deal with. They're going to do it on their time. But also, if you do have a specific time to follow up with them, make sure it happens, make sure you follow that. And obviously, based on age and so forth, we want to make sure that they're aware of any, or we're aware of any physical limitations that might restrict us being able to show them homes, meeting with them, durations of those appointments, scenarios where we have stairs and other things to be involved that we need to take extra precaution with. Switching over to the boomers, they're more about convenience, feeling like they're your only client. They want to know that you are there to fully represent them and their interests and manage what's going on. They want your expert services. They want, and they know that they can't find everything online by themselves. So as a professional, you want to be their point of contact. You want to be that one that hands out names. Stress the network of people that you have. Make sure the other experts you have that they call on if needed will be there and ready, as empathetic and sympathetic to their need as possible. Their loyalty will grow with you as you continue to demonstrate that you can help them and make sure it's all about what's in it for them. Boomers are open to a phone and email conversation, so it's a little easier to make a connection with them along with those in-person meetings. And again, that's always a great option. But again, be specific about your time and your responses. And they lead very active lifestyles, so they don't want to be delayed. They want to be on time, aware that that's what appeals to them. They like to be out and about. And lastly, a word to the wise: never call a boomer a senior. Let's talk about Generation X and Generation Y groups. Gen X, a little more prone to taking risks. They expect you do to do all the paperwork and provide the information, but they want it high tech and low touch. There's a sense of entitlement that they're owed something and they expect an immediate response. Remember, they're connected to the internet. They have access to things, right? They want to help you, or they want you to help them negotiate, but likely they'll find 100 other homes that you didn't have on your list. And that's forgetting all of the other things that they talked about and said they had to have. They want you to fill in the gaps, help them discern the information that's there. They're moving fast and they want everything like it was yesterday. You need to be focused, get to it at the right time, first time, and you need to make sure that you get it right the first time, because you may not have that second shot with them. They are well aware, well informed, and they know when they could get a good deal. Gen Ys, much like the Gen X's, very high tech and low touch, they'll be very difficult to meet even via video. Phone conversations are just not going to happen. They want you to be very direct. They're crunched in time. Again, we talked about that multitasking. So don't be offended if they're sitting in front of you, or maybe they did agree to a video call, but they're spending more time on their phone looking at other things than actually looking in the camera on their computer. Stay cool, communicate on their terms, text information to them, social media, private message them, ask them the best source for communication. Again, it's short and sweet through those communication methods. Express that there are areas of liability that we do have to be concerned with, and legal matters, that email, final documents, and signatures might be important, and that we will be working through those means. Set that expectation right from the very beginning. Again, bottom line, remember, they work at a very high speed. So be ready to move quickly yourself with them, and don't ever overpromise what you can't deliver. That's critical because, again, you may not get that second shot. So now that we have that, and obviously as a real estate professional, dealing with the different generations, each one's a different, process, a different aspect of a transaction, and that will be affected in some different way. Let's talk about some specific things when it comes to negotiations, which we do multiple times throughout a transaction. So I love to start there with every group and talk about some of the different scenarios. So the mature group wants the input and the information, but they don't want to be pushed, as I mentioned earlier. They want to think about it. So negotiations obviously take more time. There's more what if scenarios. Time plays a factor into this process. The mature group also takes people at their word. So if they say they're going to take it, then they stand behind that idea and they agree to it. It's just as good as the handshake for them. Whereas the younger generation, Y and X, a little more skeptical in their negotiations. They're waiting for something else to happen, something maybe even better to come along. They will be far more direct to ask questions about your commissions and money rather than the matures. Also, when it comes to negotiations, the matures are a little more penny conscious about working and worrying about whether they're going to outlive their financial resources. So they'll be a little tighter when it comes to moving on any price points that we discuss. Again, setting the expectation is a key thing. One of the biggest issues I've seen and hear about all the time is the mature group has a difficult time understanding in today's financial world that the seller may be asking for a seller concession to help the buyer buy their home. The silent generation and GI generation has never heard of such a thing. It's new to them. They thought through this, and in fact, they have a hard time figuring out. They worked so hard for their money to get their first home, and now someone's coming in and asking them for them to give them a part of their nest egg so that they can buy their new home. This is one of the toughest concepts for most to understand. The number one recommendation I can share with you today on that is to set that expectation early. Have a good discussion with them and talk about when we put the home on the market, this is what's going to happen. Talk about the options of the programs that are out there, the loan structures, what might be a request for people when they're making this opportunity. We'll talk about that consult just a little bit later, but setting that expectation is extremely important. Let's move over to marketing for a minute. And first, let me make the general statement that marketing should be inclusive of all groups and not restrictive to avoid issues in any fair housing laws. But let's speak specifically about the channels of marketing that we use. I think based on the earlier conversation that we just had and an understanding of the different groups that we're looking for, we're going to need different channels for your marketing efforts to reach different target groups. The matures prefer a phone call or a face-to-face, while Generation X and Y are primarily online, internet, social media resources. So it can be further broken down into even smaller groups and app-specific if necessary. Let's call this the communication bridge as well. I'd never expect my mature group to look at TikTok and post any marketing there of any kind. Nor would I expect Gen Y and Gen Z to answer the phone and have a conversation with me, or to even pick up a brochure that might have come in the mail to their location. They probably don't get a lot of mail. But a text and an Instagram might work better for them. The takeaway here is the first one to see what group is you're in and then confirm what's the best way to communicate with that. There's nothing wrong with asking. If they're on social media, can I connect? I want to see them, what's going on in their world and in theirs. I want them to see what's going on in mine, a great testimonial process. This shows reasonable care and diligence as part of our fiduciary duties as well. Let's talk about that word trust. Consulting services versus selling. I think everyone can agree that the real estate profession is not a sales job. It's a consultation job. My tasks during a transaction are to set expectations for the clients, what to expect during the process. We need to remember that in the 50 plus mature group, may have moved, may not have moved in many, many years. So things have changed. They want information, they want guidance through the process. And remember, they still want to make the decision. Our earlier comments of empowering them to make the right decisions that they're comfortable with. Those are key things. It's a stressful decision. We can all agree upon that as well. Conversations and consulting will help us strategize what's the best for the clients once we have all the information. We're here to make sure they understand everything involved in the process, not just actual home sale transaction. We need to discuss the legal aspects, the paperwork, and as we will discuss, come up with maybe even health issues and other physical limitations and things we need to talk. Our consult approach can build trust and reduce the risks in the sales process. It'll also assist in reducing all of the stress. I've said many times in my teaching that I would want to keep people on the logic side of the brain, and in order to do that, I need to inform them of everything that can happen in the process in the transaction. Our consult meeting can last 2 hours on just the first meeting alone. We dig into the needs, the process, and the legal matters. I want a defined plan, something that resolves all of the concerns. If I don't get to that level, then the emotions start to get involved, and that's when we have problems. That's the other side of the brain. The second part of that consult meeting is to share stories and testimonials, back to that reliability, that trust building, and how I've helped others along the way. How has the solutions I've offered worked out for them, and what level of satisfaction did they get from it? Hopefully that even became a testimonial and maybe a personal referral to this new client. Remember, our 50 plus matures like the referrals from other happy clients, and they rely heavily on them. So use those past experiences as great stories when you're speaking with your elder care group. That's what they want to hear. Put together a brief, one paragraph or one sheet or two, and the process of the deal, and what the joy and the experience and when they were working with you and the resources that you had available. And the last and most important part is don't go into just list and sell the house. Remember the story at the beginning. Well, the solution was the total package that was offered. 90% of the deals I do in the elder care group have very similar situations. And it doesn't mean that the families lived hundreds of miles away. They could literally be in the same town, in the same city, maybe even just down the street. But everyone involved in the family is stressed and seems to be overworked on it. They want an inclusive solution. I offer a complete whole package. And what we're going to do is spend some more time on that in just a few minutes. The solution gains, or again, raises that trust level for the clients and takes the pressure off the family. It really builds and underlines that trust that they're sharing with you because you understand what they're really looking for. So the meetings with family is there to raise some of the awareness, again, expressing stories from previous clients that you've worked with, other scenarios that have existed. Conversations can go over all aspects, and we'll actually discuss if any option to stay or should we move. We discuss safety, financial concerns, the ability to care for oneself, really lay out that long-term plan. That may encompass, but not just being near future, but long-term strategies as well. It's really important that you set the expectation on the elder and the different stages that they'll work through. I remember one client that I spoke to, I provided a part of the elder care team on the first meeting to help with some of the analysis and what would be needed for long-term care. And then over a 2-year period, several other services. And on the third year, they started to actually feel the need for the move, located a facility, and then actually made the move again, member after the elder care team. Lastly, we worked through the estate sale and then prepped the home for sale and strategized on the best opportunity for that to occur. That was a 4-year process, but the elder and the family were all on board through the whole time. There was never any issue of trust and or that they were ever going to be going anywhere else. It became a stress-free environment for them, and they knew that I had the understanding and the solution for them. I also remember through several of the consult sessions that I was contacted later for primarily the sale of the house. The elder had already moved. I asked a couple key questions when they were through their consult process, and I inquired about their current financial situation. Did they owe money on the property? Did they have enough with the Social Security income and the retirement benefits that they could provide and receive and meet all of their bills currently? In one or more instances over my years in doing this, we've decided that the use of the property as an income generator to help even cover medical expenses and other financial situations for the clients, in those cases, it helped not only the elder person, but it helped the family themselves because then they were not burdened with having to take care of it. This also relieved the financial strain for all of them. They could take care of mom and dad, the stress was off, it generated rental income, and in every case, I've been able to get to the tenants, write the deals, and ultimately sell the property when the time was right. The consult sessions are so important to determine the right scenario for every party. If you have or have been in the business long enough, you know that no two deals are ever the same, and no two situations are ever the same. So we really have to have great communication with these parties. Set the expectations and that we're agreeable to, and design that strategy, a negotiation strategy for the best results for our clients. One of the key things that was spoken here about is developing that complete solution team. In some cases, it's almost the fear that stops them from moving forward when they really need to. We have to bring the entire solution, as I've said, to the table. This unique selling proposition, a USP, truly differentiates me from every other realtor that has a license and walks in that door. So when I started to develop my elder care team, I first identified all the options and things I could help provide access to. Resources who were like-minded and had some of the same compassion and empathy for the elder care group. I never added anyone to my group that I couldn't interview and check resources and asked for testimonials from past clients and references. I visited many of them on assisted living and independent care facilities to learn about the locations and what they were using and who they used as providers, but also to ask the people that they work with for any recommendations. That greatly enhanced my marketing and options for a selection of people. I saw a trend. Those that were really focused on the areas and worked with them. Actually, several names popped up multiple times. I knew they were as focused on this as me. Let me take a minute to talk just about the creativity of who should be in your group. This is an area where you really need to think beyond just, again, selling that house. All of the services that may be needed, not only from the packing and organizing, thinking about shipping items, possibly to family members or out of state. That would be a freight service and other options. Think about staying in place, putting up different handles, maintenance of items, things that can be done by third parties, lawn services, repair services, maybe even use home warranties and maintenance agreements with minimal out-of-pocket expenses. A number to call, one number to call, so that handles all of those issues. Don't forget about the possible pet services and relocation of pet services should that be needed. Also consider tax services and specialists, possibilities that even a CPA or some sort of a money manager for those who really don't know or have anyone to give them some assistance. Be prepared to help with shredding services. They have kept documents sometimes for 40 years. Let's switch gears for just a second. Consider some of the health and mental parts of that solution team. You may wish to have some mental or healthcare professionals on your list, community services that are available, contacts that can help them stay in place. We also want to find someone who can provide a grief counselor to help them with issues of depression and stress. Because remember, they may be losing a lot of their friends and loved ones around them. Groups and services that provide meals and services to help them maintain their daily life and activities in the home. We spoke about earlier losing the right to drive and that mobility. Let's make sure that we have other transportation services and how to contact them and the costs, what's free and what's at a minimal cost. Many times we have that estate sale group. Don't forget, someone who might be familiar with antiques and collectibles does the research to help them out and find the most of what they're looking for. Locations where items can be made, or where they can be dropped off and donations can be made, and what might be likely for that to happen. Maybe even facilities that will take items on consignment services. The hardest part for most people is to think outside the box for that elder care team. And one of the last ones on this group is the memorial care services. Sounds kind of morbid, and I know you're thinking that right now, but these individuals are associated with funeral homes and responsible for making final arrangements. I found it interesting that while elder care are making these final moves, they've also thought that it's a time to make this final choice. They make their choice, and they also don't want to burden the family with it. So I found that they want to pick out and make those decisions. These people of all are the most empathetic and caring in the process. They plan ahead, they pick the services, they pick all of the necessary items. The monies are available, it's paid for now. I've been amazed over the years of how many people have taken advantage of that service out of my elder care team. I fashioned my elder care team as a kind of along the idea of a BNI group. We work together, we make sure that we have encompassed all the team and that we're all on the same page with the same mindset. We meet regularly online now based on the COVID rules through online and Zoom meetings. We have 2 brochures that we've created. Everyone on the team has access to them. The first of these is simply a services information. It has all of the services listed and available in a format that talks about the benefits that each brings to the table to the parties. There's no names, no contact information, just descriptions. Why they're a benefit. Once we move forward, then we provide the information and the capacity to contact each and every one. That's that second brochure. It looks identical, but that one carries all of the information. We also make sure that everybody in our group is part of the kind of a BNI. So we're already ahead of that curve. In most cases, we've identified the appropriate members and that we're working with certain clients who may be on that call. We found that not all services are needed each and every time, and that's understandable, but we are diligent to offer the whole spectrum of services and opportunities, each working with the same. Our bi-weekly video meetings might focus on some of the updates, maybe introduce new parties to the group, maybe even new services someone may have in their offerings. The networking leads to more than just elder care deals for all parties. It's a great benefit to have a team of professionals like this. It's a great motivator. I also find out that it's very rewarding because we're all working together to help in the solution. When we have someone who gets a bad review, it isn't about holding up their end of the things. We move on. There are plenty of options out there in many cases. And if someone's not offering the same quality of service and support, we need to then part our ways. We have a couple of that have been in the group for a good amount of time, and we've assumed those leadership roles. It's been a great tool for us to enhance our business and to really differentiate ourselves on all aspects. Everybody in the group has felt the same way. So how do we deal with the elder care team and the COVID kind of wrapping this up for us all? The issues we discussed today, as mentioned, are all part of a senior real estate specialist designation training program. Far more in depth. If you want to go into that, it is a great program to take a handle on. It gives you a better understanding, more detail. So while we ride with every changing landscape, don't forget our seniors are riding it with us, and maybe not as fast or as steep of a learning curve. So understanding them and their situation and offering patience helps. Knowledge can be such a great tool for us. Put it into use in your environment and help yourself create a unique selling proposition. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you join us as an SRES.